Hey everybody, sit down around the hearth, grab a frosty mug of ale. Welcome to the Lion's Pride Tavern, where we discuss all things Azeroth. I am your host, Fafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Alright, we are making great progress in our raid as our item levels and experience increase. We downed 4 bosses and got oh so close to a 5th one. So let's talk about this and introduce our panel. First off, we have Joe Bowie.
Hi, I'm Joe Bowie. I play a Worgen Fire Mage.
Unfortunately, Lorelei is kind of catching the Hurricane Alley bit, so we're thinking her power's not on and her internet's not working, so she might join us, she might not. So next up is Epistle.
Hello, I'm Epistle. I play a Draenei Protection Paladin.
And also tonight, back for a second one in a row, we've got Tapachino.
Thank you for that introduction, Fafford. I am Tapachino, your Night Elf Restoration Druid.
We do have a special guest tonight, and that's Dorn.
Hello, I'm Dordan. I'm a Draenei hunter.
Now, are you Beastmaster, Survival, or Marksman?
Excuse me, Beastmaster, die hard.
Nice, yeah, me too. Love my Beastmaster. So, since I've got you, let's ask you a few questions here. How long have you played WoW? Since what expansion?
I got brought in by a friend in the army right towards the end of Burning Crusade, and like it is basically about the same time I came into Draenor. It's everybody was done with raiding. They were kind of bored. They were waiting for the next expansion. That's when I came in.
Ah, nice. All right, so how did you come to find this raid group, Dorn?
Well, when I started off back in the day, just eating out with random friends, is going along with the groups to do quests and whatnot. Um, I ran into the group that Faye was friends with. We raided there through Lich King and whatnot until everybody again got bored with it, and yeah.
Sweet. What's your favorite mount, pet, or toy box item and why?
Well, I do like my mounts. I do collect them a lot. I can do ground or air. Um, Air by far it would be the Icebound Frostbrood Vanquisher because the cinematic opening for the Lich King when he brings Cinder Ghost out of the ice, I mean, that was amazing. So I had to have one. And then as far as on the ground, that would be my Champion's Dreadblade because in real life I'm a biker, so I like riding my bikes around.
Nice. So is there and I apologize, I keep calling you Dorn and it's actually Dordan. Is there a story behind your name?
Not really at all. It was a random generated name that I hit the button for, and I kept cycling through them, and they kept giving me these 3 mile long names, something like Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious or Ting Tang Walla Walla Bing Bang, whatever. So I went with basically the shortest one.
Nice. Short and sweet. That's always good. So let's jump right in. I did notice, and I just want to bring this up, this is kind of more for information. Champion armaments, there are 2 ways to get it. One is through missions that your champions go out and do. And the other is a tier 3 order hall advancement that allows you to do it. But what I didn't know, because I was talking to my wife and she plays a shaman, is that druids, monks, and shamans don't get that 3rd order hall advancement ability to pick from. They do, however, get more chances to get armaments through missions, I'm assuming. Does anybody have any comments or thoughts on this? Have they experienced that? So let's start with Tapachino. So did you know that you didn't get that?
I did not know that there was a class order hall, would you say advancement or for that, but I did notice that I do seem to have a lot of missions for gear, and or the experience points. However, since you mention it, I'm like, oh my god, I hope this doesn't become like Draenor, but that's all it was, missions for my champions or gear for my champions, because that got old pretty quick once everything was totally geared up. So, but I'm open to let's see what happens.
Yep.
You know, I can say, speaking to the fact that some groups don't get that, while it does give you a bit of a boost initially, there comes a point where once your champions have reached their epic level and you've put two champion armaments in their slots and you've upgraded their armor all the way up to 850, which is the maximum that they can get, that class hall bonus becomes effectively useless, and it's pretty much a good idea at that point, as long as you're not researching something, to spend the 2,000 it costs to switch it to whatever your other one is. Like in my case, the alternative option to that is that I can get increase the number of water elementals and arcane golems and apprentices and invokers and stuff that I can recruit by one.
I don't seem to have that option.
You will. What he's talking about is because you don't have it, so you don't have to worry about it. But like with the hunters, I know we have it because I have it. I'm actually using that particular path. But what he's saying is once all 5 of your followers are at 850 item level and they're 110 and they're maxed and they're all the way to epic level, uh, it's not doing you any good because you can't. You can get more armaments, but it's not going to do you any good unless you want to, switch your followers out and level another one up, which I couldn't see why. But for 2,000 resources, he's saying you can switch back to the other option on that, on the order hall advancement, and just bypass it.
So I'm guessing they're not linked together, so that if you've gone down one path, it doesn't affect the one subsequently. You can just use them on, off, or switch them back and forth as needed.
Yeah, you can. You can switch them back and forth. The only limitation there um, is how whether or not you're currently researching something else. Like currently, I'm researching the Legends of the Triscard or Tirscard, which increases the number of legendary items I can equip by one. And so when that's done researching in about 10 days, then I can switch my arcane armaments over to my arcane library option. But if something's being researched, you can't switch things.
Do you know if there's a time delay on that, or is it just an instant switch,
I do not know.
or a
I
cost?
Well, it costs 2,000 resources to switch that over. In fact, it costs 2,000 resources to switch any of your resources except for Tier 1, which costs 500. But I do not know if there is a time delay. I think there is, because it still says research time 3 days. So likely it'll still be 3 days until I switch over once I start the research on the other one.
And see, that's what I would think. It would be that if you spent the 2,000 resources to switch over, you still haven't researched it, so you'd at least have to research it. Now, maybe if you get both of them researched and you keep swapping back and forth, it only costs you the 2,000 resources, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, it's possible.
I guess that's what I meant about not having a choice between switching anything. If it's only through missions, is it going to get to the point where, everything's geared and, everybody's already leveled up? Am I still going to get these missions since I can't switch it off?
I would say yes, that you're still going to get those missions, because I get those missions as well. And they're just some of them that pop up on there. I generally ignore them and go for the ones that give me stuff I want, like artifact power, money, the occasional toy or cool item like that. But I still get like heavy armor sets and fortified armor sets that show up in there, even though all of my champions are fully armored up to 850, so I don't need those at all anymore.
Yeah, I wonder because 5 out of 7 missions were all the armament in the gear. I mean, the power level in the gear. So, but that could be because they're not powered up or leveled up. And just, I get very few now, anything for artifact power and gold.
So I just want to say, welcome, Lorelei.
Oh, hello. I'm back.
We kind of figured the hurricane was giving you a little bit of stormy weather.
Yeah, I got luckier than most. I only lost my phone and internet, but that was bad.
So what we were just talking about, and we can get your opinion, is that we noticed that there are three classes that do not get the champion armament suit. So with warriors, the third order hall advancement is a choice to get armaments by spending, I think it's 50 resources, and then you can, and it takes, there's like four, yeah, I get like 4 slots with a hunter, and but it takes like 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 days on all 4 slots. So the one is like takes forever, but it only cost me 50 resources to try to come up with more armaments for my champions. Where druids, monks, and shamans don't even have that in their advancement. So we were
Hmm.
just talking about that, and Tappuccino being a druid, she was just giving us that fact that she gets a lot more armament missions. So
Oh, I see. Well, that might explain why I don't get that many. Yeah.
yeah, because she was just saying she had like 6, and I like, man, the most I ever see is like maybe 2.
I get one every now and then. I don't, it seems to run in cycles. I've gotten a lot of gold missions lately.
Which I thought was interesting because, and it's not a lot. I think mine average anywhere 8 to 12, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, well, I that's where I seem to get my bonus rolls too, is on my gold. But oh, there's one right now for 422, so that's not a bad one.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I get the once in a while I get the gear one. I get a lot of gold. I get the artifact power, but I get the rare ones, which I can never do them. So I'm really kind of confused about why they throw the rare ones out there, and you can't do them because they're at like negative 15 or 30, just some unknown number that you're not going to get it if you even try for it.
Yeah, and that's the problem that I run into is because my first champion that I concentrated on, I was trying to build them up to where I could get that extra um, toy or whatever it is, the little thing for them, where they can earn you more gold as you quest. And I ended up concentrating on this one survival hunter that I had as a champion. But I'm getting all these missions for the epic or the epic missions, and they end up being for marksman or beastmaster, and I don't have anything geared anywhere near that high for those particular specs.
You know, I ran into that problem initially, uh, early on, where I would get the rare missions, and I didn't have the counters, but I also didn't have the item level on my characters. But now that I've gotten all of them up to 850, and I've put gear on all of them, uh, most of the time, every mission I have some combination that will get me 200% chance. So I always get the thing, and then I always get the bonus that comes along with it. It just took a long time for that to happen.
Yeah,
Now,
I'd
the
say I'm
problem,
in the same boat. The only thing with my haul is all of my followers have one slot open, not two, so I'm not quite as far along as Jabui, but most missions now are doable, not that large a bonus, but Jabui, what are you getting in terms of cash? Because I'm getting some lately that have been around 800.
I've gotten a few where the money that I get is about 900, and then I'll get another bonus additional gold that goes along with that, which is somewhere in the vicinity of about 700 to 900, depending on the individual mission. I think the highest I've ended up with is somewhere around 1800 gold from a single mission, sending them out. But it was also, I think that one was something like a 24 hour, like a 1 day mission. So it took a while to complete, but I when I do those, I always try and send the gold ones out with as high a bonus chance as possible, just because the all the gold missions seem to have a bonus item that is also gold, so you just end up with more gold.
So are most of your guys epic then, or are they? Because so there's like green, blue, and purple, which is like common. I don't know what.
Rare epic.
Yeah, rare epic. Are most of yours epic then?
No, um, I get the occasional rare one, but most of the time it's just I'll get a series of them. Like currently, I have four that are level 110, which doesn't denote any item level, and then I have three that are based on item level. One that's 835, one that's 840, and one that's 850. And then occasionally I'll have a rare one that pops up too. But most of I mean, I just get them sometimes, and the rewards are they seem sort of random, as to
Well,
what I get.
I meant your actual champions, because they have.
Oh,
Are most of your champions actually epic? The purple.
yeah. Well, three of them are, and two are blue currently. I'm still working on leveling up a couple of them. One of which I usually keep as my combat ally, and I was pleased to see that if you have a combat ally, that combat ally gradually levels up as you go out and you do like combat in the world. They gain a little bit of experience as you fight. Um, so that's kind of nice. Even the ones that don't fight alongside of you, but just give you like a bonus. For an example, I have Archmage Vargoth, and I can pull him out when I'm out in the Broken Isles, and then he says something silly to me, and I can click on him, and he'll give me a buff that increases my spell power. And when even though he's not fighting alongside of me, he still gains experience just from being a combat ally. So that's kind of nice.
I've never brought along a combat ally. Didn't in Draenor either. Sounds like it might be of benefit. It's just I'm never sure when I'm going to be out for 5 minutes doing one world quest, or when I'm going to be out for a while to make it worth my while.
Now, like I was saying a minute ago, and I still haven't got the drop for me, but there's items you can get for your followers where um, you can get extra gold when you're out run. Like they'll give you, say you get 50 gold, then they'll get 50 gold, I guess.
Well, I've seen the ones, I've seen two of those things for gold. One that gives 15 gold per world quest that you complete while that combat ally is your combat ally, or while that champion is your combat ally, rather. And then the one that I use on my combat ally is actually one that I got from I believe I got it from the Withered Combat Training cache at the end, which grants me 100 class hall resources per world quest that I complete. So every time I finish any world quest, I get a 100 bonus class hall resources.
Oh, that's handy.
Well, I'm just wondering if the gold missions as they come up, if you're using a champion that's epic, if it's a more of a bonus, because I haven't seen those gold numbers, and most of mine are blue. I haven't gotten any epics champions at all, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that and see if that's what the case may be. All right, let's move on to our actual raid. So 2 days of raiding, we got down, like I said in the introduction, we got down 4 bosses, and we were so close to the 5th. Instead of talking about each boss individually, we're just going to go through each person and give us your general opinion on each boss if you want. Do your own little thing. We'll start off with Joe Bowie.
I'd have to say that so far I've really enjoyed the raiding in Legion. The fights that we've been in, they've been exciting, and we've had to really strive to complete them. Like figuring out our tactics and all that. And there's been times where we're at the tail end of a fight, and there's a bunch of us down, there's a few of us left, and we're just picking off that last little bit of the boss, and my heart's pounding, and I'm furiously slamming away at my keys, trying to cast my spells, and I've just found it really, really satisfying. So all in all, I got to say that I've really enjoyed raiding in Legion so far, and I've liked the boss fights. I think they've been fun. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with ratings so far.
So, out of the 5 bosses we took out, or that we 4 bosses we downed, one we didn't. Which was your favorite boss?
Um, I think my favorite boss that we fight right now, it doesn't come down to mechanics and it or anything else, but uh I'd have to say it's the is it Nethelion, the first dragon? Am I saying that wrong?
Nathendra.
Nathendra, yes. I'd have to say that I like Nathendra the best just because I really like the artwork on Nathendra. And I see that dragon, it looks epic, it looks really cool. The motions on it are interesting and kind of creepy. The way that it looks like there's some sort of infestation inside of it that's writhing through its body and stuff. It's just really neat looking, and the mechanics on it aren't so complex that like I don't have time to stare at the boss and think it looks cool. So I kind of like that one the best right now.
Well, especially now that we've downgraded the boss from heroic to normal.
Sure, yeah, that does help quite a bit.
How about you, Epistle?
Well, I like Nathendra as well, but I'd have to say Ursoc is the one that gets my heart beating. But that's the tank in me using every bit of heals and mitigation I can to try to survive that fight. Which I have to say we haven't, as tanks, successfully been able to make it to the end alive yet. Um, so a sacrifice we're willing to make for the raid, but it's taken its toll on the tanks, that's for sure. Hopefully, as we gear up a little more, we'll be able to survive it. Um, but I'm actually enjoying the dragons. I think because it's one of those fairly simple mechanics for tanks. Just uh, get the right range, switch up back and forth at a certain interval, and it's somewhat simple and predictable, but interesting enough to keep it fun. That's just a kind of a pleasant one. And I gotta say, I know people getting frustrated with Il'gynoth, but that one intrigues me. It's kind of a puzzle we just haven't been able to crack yet. And I'm not quite sure what the limiting factor is for us, but it's always fun to have that one that's just beyond your reach, just tantalizing you to try to sort out what the issues are. And it really is a team effort because we're even trying to figure out what the issue is there, and it's obviously a combination of factors and something we all have to figure out and work together well.
Well, and if they were all really easy, we wouldn't be playing this game because it's gotta give us some sort of complexity so it keeps our interest. But the evil tree, yeah, we really have gone a long ways with it because the first couple of times we attempted it, we didn't do so well. We did okay, but the third time when we came back a week later, holy moly, we came out of that first phase and we were down. What did you say? It was like down to 40%. I think is what Joe Bui was saying. That's incredible. And
It's
then we
good
kind of
progress.
lost it. But I did look at the metrics. I did. Now AMR is not working as far as the metrics, but I went to a news site. It's called WarcraftLogs.com, and it's the same logging principle. So it used the AMR logs that we had, and I looked at it, and it's just a matter of our item level and DPS. It's just not quite there to get those corruptor tentacles down fast enough. So we'll get there. So I don't think that should actually be the third boss you go to, like Fat Boss recommends. I think we do our pattern of Nathendria and Ursoc, then we go to Dragons, and then go take out the Spider boss, and I can't think of it. She's got a really weird name. But
Elrith Renfurl?
yeah, thank you. um,
I'm reading it and still having difficulty.
I know, right? Like I said, I think it would be much better if it was Bill and Ted. At least it would be excellent, right? So Lorelei, from a melee perspective, which boss and why?
I agree with Epistle. My favorite fight is Ursog, and it's not that it's a hard melee fight at all. I think it's very easy. It's just a weird boss fight where I actually feel really bad when we kill the boss at the end because nobody wants to kill that bear. We had fun. We had fun doing quests with him and out in Northrend, and I don't know. It's kind of a neat little thing to put into the game where you're actually killing uh, NPCs that you have grown up with and done things with, and now they're bad and you have to take them out.
Well, I think it's a very awesome concept to take all these ones that we worked with and infest them and make them bad, and we have to kill them. I think that's a great concept. I
Yeah,
really
they did
do.
a great job this time.
So, Tapachino, from a healing perspective, I'm sure you've got a which is my favorite healing boss and which is my worst one story. So we'll go with you.
You are so right, and I think the answer to that question is the same. Elareth Renfroy is my favorite and my least favorite boss to heal. I like the mechanics of, the healing and the running around. As a healer, you don't usually get to, worry about the mechanics as much, grabbing a feather and going to this platform, to that platform. As a healer running around and trying to heal everybody, that's jumping from one platform to the next is challenging. So I think with all of that considered, it's a very fun boss to do in a healing perspective, and also a very challenging boss to do. So I think that's why it's my favorite. I like the challenge.
Well, now that you have,
Moving Tranquility, and I can't believe I didn't say that. It's been a lot of fun with this boss. I get to use it a lot. There's a talent that I could change my Tranquility to have a cooldown every 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes, so I get to use it even more often, which makes it even more fun and hopefully keeps everyone alive. It was very exciting getting that boss down. We would right down to the wire. Like Joe Bowie says, you're hitting all these buttons and trying to keep these people up. And, at the end, I was actually DPSing for those last few seconds. And it was just such a thrill when you work so hard to get something down and you do it and everybody goes, yay! It's just such a thrill. And this is one of those bosses where we, really work for it. And it was really fun to get down.
yeah, because we got that one down on what our third or fourth attempt.
And it
Yeah,
was a squeaker.
yeah.
Oh,
At the tail end of that fight, right there, when we were trying to take it down, and I looked over at the raid window, showing me all the people, and there was a bunch of people dead. There was just a few of us still fighting, and I was getting chased around by one of the debuffs, and dropping the slime out on the edge of the room, and then there was calls for finish her, hurry, kill it, and I went flying back over, like blinking back across the room, trying to do as much damage as possible, and then when it died, I actually thought that maybe we had died because there was like this explosion around the boss kind of thing, and I thought we lost at first, and then I was like, wait, no, we won, I'm still alive, yay.
How close were we on the rage timer on that one? Because it was counting down. I remember seeing maybe 8
We had
seconds.
actually just passed the berserk. We were about 15 seconds in the berserk.
yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of a softened rage then.
Well, I mean, it was taking people out one at a time, but we did have I don't know, we had what 22 people, and there was probably only half of us left. It was taking us out one at a time, but we were at 3%, 2%, 1%. It was going down. It was very, very exciting.
Yeah, and only one tank alive who was really sweating buckets, I can tell you.
Yeah, and it wasn't even our heaviest geared. We always talk about Durag and how heavy geared he is, and he can take a punishment. And I think he fell off the edge, is what happened. And you were the only one left. And I know the healers were probably going, "Oh my God, I only got one tank." So I know the healers had a little conference because and was it? And I'm just going to kind of poke here. Was your conference about your running tranquility? Because didn't you say your cooldown's only 2 minutes because you talented it?
We did have some conferences. Miramar also has a running trank, and hers was 3 minutes. And just, when we're gonna hit the train, when near that, I forget what the thing was called when you had to all go and stack on the boss before we pushed back with that wind. We're like, okay, that's a good time to, have the running tranquility, and as far as the healing team goes too, we seem to have consistent healers each week. So we're really starting to talk about it kind of offline, in our party, because you put us in a, which is a great idea, by the way, is putting us in the same party. Then we can talk to each other, without having to go someplace else, if you know what I mean. Obviously, four of us are druids, so we kind of know what each other can do, and just kind of fine tuning and tweaking it and getting comfortable with each other. I think I mentioned that last week too. That we're starting to get to know each other and really work well together too.
Yeah, so what I've done is I put you guys in your own party group, so you guys can just use party chat and talk instead of doing it in raid chat where everybody's reading it and nobody understands what you're talking about. So Jordan, you were one of our top DPS during a lot of the fights. I did go and compare you and me, just so you know, and looked at your gear to mine, and the only thing I see different that you're doing from me is that your item level is actually 850 and mine's only 824. So, but I mean, I was watching the meters, and I'm like following you just left and right. Whatever you did, I did. Whatever you did, I did. It was pretty funny. But
Oh
what
no,
did you?
that's always a bad idea.
Well, no, because I mean, anytime you got somebody that's doing, high DPS and they're the exact same, because I'm a Beastmaster by heart too, and our other hunter that was there, um, I believe was Marksman, and
Yes.
he was out doing both of us, and I didn't compare him, but I wanted to compare you and I, and the only thing I could see different is that your weapon level is a lot higher than mine. You were at like 19 tiers, and I'm only at 14. And then my item level is a lot lower than yours. But what did you think about the bosses that we got down? Which was your favorite?
Well, I'd have to say my favorite fight would be the Ursak fight, and the main reason for that is the amount of time you get. Because I get very ADD about a lot of things, and when a boss fight drags out, I just completely lose interest and start losing focus and everything else because I'm just like, hurry up already, get it done. And Ursak's got a really, really shortened range to where you got to get him down really quick. And that's one of the things I like about it. And plus, he looks really cool. And when the next expansion comes out, I fully plan on coming back with a couple of people and taming him. The Ursak fight, I think I was the last one alive when we took him down. Was it this last time? Or the time before that?
Oh, that would have been the time before because we one-shotted uh, Nathendria, we one-shotted Ursak, we one-shotted the dragons, and because we got there really quick to get to the evil tree and Il'gynoth.
Tanks are
Yeah,
still dead on their sock, but
that particular Ursak fight, I was in full panic mode, and I was like, I don't know how the heck I'm going to pull this off. I saw the tanks both go down, and I went and turned on the growl on my pet. I was just like, come on, pet, stay alive for just 5 seconds. We only got like a little tiny bit of DPS left to go. And
Yeah, I did see both the tanks go down, but we were so close, and everybody else was up, so I knew we had it.
yeah, that was the exciting part for me, was just everybody else is down, and it's like, oh my goodness, I've got to somehow get this last little bit down without dying, which I'm very talented at dying.
We kind of covered everything there. We were gonna ask the question, how do you think the rating's going? I think a couple more weeks. I'm thinking, and we should be able to move on to the next raid. What do you guys think? Tap?
Absolutely. If some people weren't going to be out next weekend, we'd be even closer. But, that's another story. But yeah, I do think that it won't be too long. We've got a good thing going. We'll keep it up.
How about a pistol?
again, I'm keeping that box of chocolates unopened. I don't even know what the next raid looks like or the difficulty level compared to what we're doing. We're certainly getting the mechanics down of the fights we're doing so far, and so at this rate, if we add another boss or two, in the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. I could certainly see by mid to late November that we might be just farming the Emerald Nightmare.
Yeah, and I got a comment on Tapachino's comment. So the podcast is going to be on hold for a couple of weeks. We've got some real life events going on, but we will bring it back up. Don't fear. There will be a little pause. Just think of it as our staff members have to have a vacation. So, Joe Bowie, what about you?
I think that we're progressing nicely, and I think that we should be, you know, I don't think it'll be too long before we'll be able to down all 7 bosses in Emerald Nightmare every week without too much trouble, possibly moving into heroics even. Um, but like I think last I heard, Nighthold comes out in early 2017. So probably like January, February, or something like that. So we do have a while to work on it, but I think it'll be pretty interesting as we progress through this. And I also think raiding through this will prep us for when the Nighthold does release. We'll be all nicely geared for that.
Yeah, yeah. Lorelai?
I think once we get everybody to get the mechanics down for the tree and the spider to where it becomes a little more fluid, the rest of the fights are not that bad. So if we can get over that hurdle, we'll be fine with the last 2 bosses.
Awesome. And Jordan?
I think we're doing well as far as learning the mechanics and everything else. I think the one thing that's stopping us right now and is just some of our lower geared players. We just need to bring them up a little more, have them doing more of the mythics and catching up on their gear. I think we've got most of the mechanics down. It's just a question of how much power we're putting down, and right now we're just not putting out quite enough.
So let's pose that question. What do you think? So our listeners can, maybe this will go, a light bulb will go off in their head, go, oh, maybe I should go do that. What, because all of you guys are very high geared, what was the fastest, easiest, simplest way to get to get the higher gear? Was it world quests? Was it doing the world boss? Was it just going and getting geared enough to get into the mythics and running mythic dungeons? We'll keep on with Jordan. What do you think?
Well, I think with the mythics is probably by far the quickest, um, and that's if you can get into the groups that are doing the +2s, the +3s. I haven't tried anything higher than that yet, but I geared up pretty quick once I started doing the upgraded mythics. And then, of course, when the world boss pops up, of course, get in there on that. And you don't even have to be in a group, to be honest. You just get there at the time they're getting ready to kill it. As long as you get a few shots in, you'll get that loot.
How about Joe Bowie?
Well, initially it was world quests that helped me get the base level gear that I got. But after that, it pretty much went to doing mythics. Mythic dungeons is where I got a lot of my gear, but I got really lucky on a few item upgrades. Like when you get an item from a world quest and it gets upgraded. I had one get upgraded to like I think it was 855, and it was originally I thought only 835 or something like that, and it got upgraded quite a bit. I got one piece of loot from World Boss that's pretty decent, but it wasn't upgraded, so that's like a 860. And of course, the other big one is getting your artifact weapon upgraded as good as you can get it, which can be kind of tough because if you're trying to pick specific effects from it, getting those correct, rank effects. For in my case, it's pyroblast damage. Getting the relics that are appropriate for that, but are also high item level, has been a little bit difficult. I've got one that's really good, and then 2 that are still 840. But yeah, I'd say mythic pluses, and then of course the raid is also nice. But even in that, the mythic pluses can sometimes provide gear that's a little higher than what we'd get out of the raid, unless it gets upgraded when we get the gear from the raid.
Okay. Lorelei?
I got, at least to get raid ready, I got most of my gear from doing the world quests. Once you can get that gear and you can't really progress any farther with your quest, doing the world bosses is a good way to try and get some upgraded pieces of gear too. I think the drop rates have been better than what people said. I mean, I've gone in a couple of times and done them, and about 50% of the time I get a piece of gear, so I've been able to flesh out some of my lower pieces that way.
Okay. Epistle?
Yeah, I think that's very true. I've geared mostly through world quests and world bosses on two tunes now, so my mage has also been getting a little more love, a little more attention lately. And Wergen, my son's Fury Warrior, just got friendly with all the reputations it needed to start the world quests, and having the tools that we've been talking about, the world quest lists. I was showing him how to very efficiently pick out the piece that he needs and make sure his order hall is upgraded to give potential upgrades on those or increase the odds for that. So between those two things, he very quickly started to get a couple pieces of gear and realized, this is something he can do. He can get up to 830 or above and be raid ready really within a week. And if he gets really lucky, even more. Of course, I've been really, really lucky on Andro, obscenely so. The first world boss, he just leveled up. It was the end of the week, and he got two 860 pieces off a world boss.
I want to toss something out in Epistle touched on a subject that I think is pretty interesting that I read recently. They're changing the way it works as far as when world quests unlock for alts. And from what I've read, once you complete the required reputation so that you can unlock world quests with your main character, your alts, once they hit 110, will immediately get their Flight Master's Whistle and have world quests unlocked.
That would be a nice change.
That'll be very good.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah, that's going to be awesome. One thing that I came across by accident, well, I don't know how accidental it was, but the curious coins. You use them at the ethereal vendor Zerlos in Dalaran to buy magical goods. Has anybody gotten a whole bunch of them, gotten anything good out of that? Start off with Joe Bowie.
I've gotten, I think, in total 5 coins so far. Or maybe it's 6. I think it might be 6. But the thing I noticed is that the items that guy has for sale, some of them cost like 50 or 150, I think, for a mount. And considering the drop rate that I've gotten those coins on, I'm thinking, if I do that many dungeons and if I get that many curious coins in the future, will I actually use it? I've only spent one so far, and that was to buy a formula for enchanting to create a relic, which is only an 805 relic, but I wanted to have that recipe in my bag. And there's, I think there's 5 other recipes, and then there's a weekly random thing. It can be the mount, or it can be other stuff, but those either cost like 50 or I think 150. And I just don't see that happening for a very, very long time.
Well, do you know, is there another way of getting the coins faster, or?
Not that I'm aware of. The only way I know of that you can get the coins is they drop off of dungeon bosses. That's the only places I've gotten them so far. And yeah, I've gotten 6 of them so far, and I think I've done well over 100 dungeons now.
Go ahead, Dorn.
Well, from what I've read, the pool there in Dalaran, I don't know about other locations, but the pool there in Dalaran, apparently you can fish them out of there too.
Well, maybe I'll try that next because I've discovered fishing this week again, and I'm having a lot of fun with that and getting to be good friends with Conjurer Margos. But I've only got a handful of those coins on Epistle, and I've tanked quite a bit. So unless they increase the drop rate, it feels like it's kind of a long-term play for Blizzard, just like one of those other trails of interest that people might pursue. Unless, of course, there's that, try hard fishing route.
And that could be. How about you, Lorelei?
I'm embarrassed to say I haven't gotten any from any bosses. The bosses don't like me. They will not drop things for me that I could use. But I did go over and I look at the vendor and see what he had, and there were some interesting things there. I would like the mount, but I think I'm gonna try the fishing in the fountain thing at least. Hopefully, I could get some there.
Yeah, and I see. I got mine from completing a quest. I think I only have one, and I've never gotten another one yet. But I haven't done a lot of dungeons either, so I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna have to research it more. How about Tab?
Yeah, I haven't seen any either. I'm with Lorelei there. I fish in the fountain because that's fun. I like to get that achievement where you get all the different coins. So you can get that coin in there? I don't recall seeing that.
I don't know. Maybe again, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that they said that. I'm not entirely sure.
Cool. It would make sense because that's what you really fish out of that is coins.
Right. So kind of a fun little question. Your favorite moment? I mean, can be anything from a quest to a dungeon to during our raids. What's been your favorite moment so far from raiding in Legion or questing or world quest or just anything in general? What is that one time that you went, that was very cool? Epistle?
I would have to say our boss kill uh, last night, but that's also because when you're sort of like the last of the DPS or the last of the healers or the last tank, it's always very exciting when you're just holding on. You know everyone's watching with bated breath. It's like running that. Oh wait, I was going to use a sports analogy. It doesn't work for me. Yeah, doing something in sports, you're the last person to do something impressive. Yeah, it's like that.
Okay. Lorelei?
I agree. It's when you're been working on that boss all night and you're at the last little second, people are dropping and you're banging on your keys and you're trying to do it, and it's the last shot that you have for the night, and when you get that boss down, that's the best feeling.
How about Jordan?
Well, I touched on it earlier, but it was my favorite moment in the rating so far. Again, was that Ursoc fight where I was like the only one still up, and just the stress and the excitement of finishing off that last couple of DPS by myself. That was kind of cool. I was fully expecting to die, and the fact that it got pulled off, that was just a really cool moment.
Nice. Tappuccino.
Oh, there's so many of them. This has been such a great expansion. But I have to say, like you guys, I really, really loved that end to the spider fight last night. That was pretty cool. And another really fun moment for me was when we were doing the Mythic Eye of Azura, and we were fighting that giant boss, and everybody's dead, and I'm a healer running away from him and just spamming Moonfire and Sunfire, and we died at the same time, but got him down. That was a pretty yeehaw moment too.
I do have to say, I love it when you talk because you play a druid and they're very foresty people, they're one with nature. And in the background, I hear your lovely birds just singing for you as you're talking about being a druid.
That is too funny. My son was saying, "Can they hear the bird when you're talking?"
Yes, we can, and we love it. All right, Joe Bowie, your favorite moment.
Well, I guess I'd pretty much have to go with everybody else on that. Um, with that last fight against Elareth Renfarrell, or however you pronounce that name, and it was just one of those beautiful, heart pounding, exciting moments that and granted, I was still alive and just unloading everything I had and just saying, "Oh, what cooldowns can I pop? What can I do there?" And then, that final moment, which there was like I don't know, a moment of there was like that pause moment when I saw that explosion around the boss thing and thought I was dead, and then discovered I wasn't. And it's just It was really cool. And then, of course, everybody starts cheering that we just downed the boss, and you feel a bit like a hero, and all that. So it was pretty cool.
All right. We're approaching our hour, so we're always gonna follow up with our very last question of the evening, and that is add-ons. What would you recommend? Do you know of another add-on that you would recommend to our listeners? And we'll start off with Joe Bowie.
Yeah, this week I'd like to recommend an add-on called Move Anything. I'm a interface tweaker. I like to have things where I like to have things, and Move Anything gives me the ability to move literally anything in my interface. So, like I do things like I have my map down in the center of of my buttons at the bottom of the screen. I move my button bars out to the left and to the right, and I move my artifact bar, and I move lots of other stuff just to places that I like it. And I think that's a really, really nice add-on to have, especially if you like to tweak your interface a bit.
Very cool. So I want to do one. I don't know about you guys, but when there's so much going on and you've got all this stuff all over your screen and you're intensely watching the fight and you lose your cursor and you're like, oh no, where'd it go? And you're frantically moving your mouse all over the place, hoping to see some flash of movement with all the battles going on and you can't see it. I found one called Snowfall Cursor. Now it is a out of date add-on, but it works great. The more you move your mouse, the faster you move it, it leaves it turns into like a snowflake and a flash of white, and you can see it in an instant. So if you're having that problem, Snowfall Cursor. And I get all my stuff off of a Curse client, right from curse.com. So how about Epistle?
I've actually gone back to using something I hadn't in Draenor at all, which was Gatherer. I've got an Herbalist now that I'm leveling up, and it's a real pain to not have your paths figured out for where you're going to gather your herbs or your mining. And so this add-on solves that problem by creating kind of a map, and you can visualize where all the material is and find it more easily.
Very nice. How about Lorelei?
I found one too. I'm the same. I don't like to have a lot of stuff in the way on my screen. So I found one called Minimap Button Frame. And it takes all those little add-on icons that show up on your minimap and it puts them into a little box that you can move anywhere around on your screen. You can set it up horizontally or vertically and just pick it up and slide it out of the way if you want to. And I really enjoy that.
Oh, cool. I've never had an issue. I've always played with a base screen, but I have, like certain ones that I use depending on which tune I'm using. I really use a lot of Weak Aura. I love Weak Aura. But I only use it to throw up a button as a reminder on the screen, hey, this spell is now ready to cast, and it's one of the ones that you want to cast on cooldown. So it always comes up with a button and it kind of wiggles and I can do all sorts of things with it. But Weak Auras is always one. It's tough to program. There's a lot to it. It's very, very powerful tool. So there's lots of help out on the internet for it. People, Beastmasters, have a whole website devoted to it where you can, depending on how you want it to look, people have done different things with it. But Weak Auras is always a good one. But like I said, tough to program. Jordan, how about you? You got a special add-on that you like?
Well, no, I tend to keep it simple. I do run weak auras, and then I've got the razor one, so that goes with my mouse and everything. But as far as the weak auras go, yeah, I found the strings for it online, and that has helped me out a lot as far as knowing what to hit and when. I like how you can. I've got mine set up to where it's a ring around my character. And when an ability is ready, which with Beastmasters, the majority of ours are, once it's ready, it's around the time you're going to be hitting it. And so just having that up there, I kind of think of it like a shift light in the drag racer. And that helps to really know what to hit and when.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really good add-on too. But there again, you know, there's a lot of help out there on the internet because I found it very, very powerful and a little bit intimidating on what you could do. Especially some of these people, they know how to tweak it and do this and do that and set up a trigger and all this other stuff. And theirs looked really cool, and then I go and mess with it just a little bit and screw it all up, and then I have to delete it and put a whole new one on.
Yeah, and the string that I found, and I'll look it up for you and send it to you later as far as the website. But the string that I found, I mean, I just found it that much more, or that perfect. You know, I couldn't mess with it at all because it just had everything down packed. It has, beyond the abilities, it also has like a focus bar that goes across and everything. And it tells you when you should be hitting your Cobra shot versus stop hitting stuff because you're about to run out of focus.
My favorite part of having it is for my pet because I always forget when I'm out running around. I turn growl on, and as soon as you come in, I've got one script that says your growl is on, and it's big flashing letters right across the entire face of your screen. So your tanks who always go, somebody's pet growls on. I hate it when they do that because everybody looks at the hunter, and it's I don't know why it's always me.
We hate having to say that too, so I'm glad you got that.
Now, when I'm running out questing, I have my pets in a tenacity spec, and the growl is set to on in my tenacity spec. But once I go into a raid, I'm automatically switching over to ferocity for more damage, but that one has it turned off. So that's why I really never have a problem with it because I know I'm switching specs anyway. So
Right. Yeah, that's a good
Be-
idea.
because I mean, ferocity is okay for out questing, but I mean, the survivability of the tenacity while you're out doing quests by yourself is just that much more, I think. So I like to keep them in tenacity when I'm questing.
All right. Well, guys, we're got our time in, and I really appreciate you guys coming this weekend and talking with us all. We will not have a podcast the following weekend or the following after that. So we got 2 weeks off before we have another podcast. So our numbers are probably going to drop, but stay tuned. We're going to have some good information for you when we come back. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a great time as always.
If you like this podcast, throw us a like and subscribe to our channel. And please, leave comments or questions below. Maybe we'll answer them on the air next podcast. We are hosted on Podomatic.com. Our website is lionsprideTavern.podomatic.com. Our podcast also airs on iTunes for Apple users, Google Play for Androids, and YouTube. Just search World of Warcraft Lions Pride Tavern podcast. See you next week, and thanks for listening.